right, today we're going to talk about another one of those nasty little unhelpful thinking habits that get in the way of our happy lives, that feed our anxieties, that just make everything worse. And the thinking habit we're going to talk about today is what I call shoulding all over yourself, using the word should to describe anything about your life, shoulding on yourself. And I work with my clients all the time to stop shoulding on yourself. And so that's what I want to talk about in today's video. So there's two different kinds of shoulds. There's the should that is about the past, like I should have done something different, or I should not have said that, or whatever. And then there's the shoulds that are about the future, like I should go to this thing next week, or I should make this phone call. So we're going to talk about those two different types of shoulding on yourself in two different ways, because they're two different things. So the first one, let's start with the should have, the past. This sort of Monday morning quarterbacking, this sort of expecting past you to have the knowledge that current you has. And you know that it's not fair. It's not fair to yourself to be second guessing yourself later. But it also carries a lot of guilt, and it carries a lot of shame that you messed up, that you did something wrong. And that is really unproductive. Anxiety, being an asshole, really loves that. It's like sitting over there being like, oh, you're a terrible person. Ooh, that's so bad, right? Anxiety is your roommate that's on the couch and is like got his messy feet on the table, and he's just like, man, you're a terrible person. Just telling you all of these things about the past. None of that shame and guilt is productive. None of it is going to help your anxiety calm down. Now, I think it's different, shoulding about the past is very different from exploring how you might have done something differently. It's totally legit to say, I would rather have done this way. I wish that I had said this instead of that. It's okay to look back at how you've done things and think about how you might do them differently. But if you're going to embed that looking back, you're going to wrap it all up in a big pile of poop and guilt and shame, then it's not going to be productive for you. It's certainly not going to help you make changes in your life that you want to make. So if we can get rid of the shoulding, we can get all of the should out of your life, then you can just look at the actual information in your own life and make decisions about how you might like to change or how you might like to move forward. If you find yourself should spiraling or shame spiraling, it can be really helpful to set aside a time and say, I am going to explore my decision making about this situation, because it'll ping pong around your head. You'll be obsessing about it, and anxiety is just sitting there talking shit the whole time. So you can say, okay, you know what? I'm going to sit down. I'm going to look at this situation. I'm going to analyze it. I'm going to write down all of the things. I'm going to analyze it. I'm going to decide what I would have done differently. I'm going to decide how I'm going to implement those changes, and then I'm closing the book on it. So you won't necessarily obsess about it. Sometimes people go the other way where they don't want to face it, and so they're spiraling and they're trying hard to push it. They're trying hard to push it away and not face whatever decision that they made that they would like to do differently, because it's so guilt-ridden and shame-ridden. And so there's just kind of this blinding, blinders on kind of thing. And I think that looking at it directly, looking at it and analyzing it for what it is, nothing more, nothing less, just what it is, can be really helpful. But once you've explored it, put it away. You've done the work around it. You don't need all of that shit all over yourself. So change your language around that. I would have liked to. I wish that I had. It would have helped if I had done this. That's very different from shoulding on yourself. The second type of should that we're going to talk about is the future. I should do something. I should make this phone call or do this thing or follow whatever it is that you should do. Still shoulding on yourself, still bringing along shame and guilt, and there's something external about it. Should doesn't say I want to do this thing or it would benefit me if I did this thing. Should is an outside expectation. I should do that implies that there's some kind of person or somebody out here who's going to judge you and shame you if you don't do that thing. So when you're looking at these unhelpful thinking styles, a lot of these will show up. We talked earlier in the week about disqualifying the positive. That's one of the ways that should can show up, future should can show up. You can find yourself being like, I shouldn't do that because I shouldn't go to this party because nobody's going to like me there, right? So then you're shoulding and you are disqualifying the positive, which was that you were invited to the party to begin with, or whatever. So addressing all of the unhelpful thinking habits and those kind of nasty habits that we're talking about, all of those are going to help your shoulds reduce. And looking at things, how you want to do things in the future from an analytical point. Also, the same way that I said you can kind of analyze the past things and decide how you want to do it differently. It's totally okay for you to say, what am I going to do in the future? And what are the costs and the benefits? So, for example, if you were to say, I should go to my boss's work party. I should go to my boss's work party. That takes the power away from you, right? Like that is like some other expectation. There's some kind of pull. You can't do anything about it. You're helpless. You just have to do whatever your should tells you to do. But if we can switch that and we can say, instead of I should go to my boss's work party, that disempowering piece, the empowering piece is like, if I go to my boss's work party, then he's going to think that I am committed and that I'm willing to show up. And if I don't go to my boss's work party, then he may think that, that I'm not a team player or whatever. And so you can think through these things. And then if you decide to go, it's not because you should go, it's because you thought about the process of it and you made a decision, and that's empowerment. Try replacing these shoulds in the same way with the other kinds of shoulds we were replacing it with I wish that I had, or I would have liked to have done this differently. For this type of should, we're going to shift our language and we're going to say, it would benefit me if I made this decision, or it would feel better if I made this decision. So naming it accurately. And so notice anytime the word should comes up, notice where that should is coming from. Is that coming from external expectations? Is that coming from childhood expectations that are just so deeply ingrained, they're just showing up? Revisit that, revisit those ideas, revisit the unhelpful thinking styles, really dig into this idea. And when you find yourself saying the word should, check it, figure out what's going on there, because should is a word of guilt and shame, and we don't need that in anxiety management. So send me an email, send me a message, Instagram, Facebook, drkarenmcdowell.com. Check out the Anxiety is an Asshole course, the live workshops I've got coming up next Wednesday is our first live workshop. Super excited about that. So jump on that if you can. Have a great day.